Thank you for this opportunity to present this evening. Immigration2Oz is a professional immigration consultancy business based in the United Kingdom. We've been here for more than a decade and sent thousands of people to Australia successfully. My name is John Adams. I'm a registered migration agent. The business is Immigration2Oz. We're based in Guildford in Surrey, which is just south of London. Our expertise is in the full range of visa categories that are lodged offshore, in other words, not in Australia. In Australia, they do things like visas that are for people that are in detention or asylum seekers, which I regard as the unhappy end of the stick. We don't do that. We look at visas that can make people happy. We send happy people to Australia and enjoy that as part of what we do on a daily basis. We provide a professional and personalized service, and a registered migration agent is in control and contactable throughout your visa application. There's a list of visa subclasses which is too lengthy to go into in detail this evening, but can be summarized in a few visa subtypes: spousal visas, parent visas, student visas, employer-sponsored visas, business visas, investor retirement visas, and skilled visas. We're going to talk today about the skilled visa program, and we're following up in a couple of weeks' time with another webinar where we'll discuss all the other visa subclasses. Skilled visas is the most predominant way of getting to Australia under permanent residency. There used to be 13 different visa subclasses under skilled migration, which they, about 2 years ago, condensed into the 4 that you see on the screen. The top 2, subclass 189, the skilled independent visa, and subclass 190, the skilled state nominated visa, are both permanent visas, valid for 5 years, allowing you multiple entry into Australia, come and go as you like, and give you the full arena or array of social security services such as Medicare, pensions, aged care, etc. The 2 visa subclass 489 visas, one is regional state nominated and the other one is regional family nominated visas, are provisional visas, not temporary visas. In other words, you can't be sent home on that visa, but it's a provisional visa requiring you to spend 2 years in Australia in that nominated state and work for 12 months. Once you've jumped those 2 hurdles, you qualify for permanent residency and you can have the same facilities as the top 2. So you will be a permanent resident then and entitled to all the facilities. To be able to lodge a skilled visa application, you need to tick 2 boxes. The first one is you need to have a skill on a skilled occupation list, and the second is you need to meet the threshold requirements. The skilled occupation list is broken up into 2 lists: a Schedule 1 list called the skilled occupation list, which allows you to apply for any visa. Most importantly, for the subclass 189 skilled independent visa, which is the best possible platinum visa that you can get. The CSOL list or Schedule 2 list is a list of about 600 occupations which the state governments, the 8 state or territory governments listed below, can pick from or choose occupations which they would like to nominate to satisfy the employment needs in their particular state. So it doesn't mean to say if you have an occupation on that list of 600 occupations that you can apply for a visa, but you can certainly have a look for a state that's prepared to nominate you. The first of the threshold requirements is age. To be able to lodge a skilled visa application, you need to be under the age of 50, and that's the day that you turn 50 in Australia, uh, that stops you from continuing with a skilled independent visa. So if you can lodge an application on your 49th birthday, that's perfect. The second threshold requirement is you need to have a positive skill assessment. You might have the skill as a carpenter or an accountant, but Australia want to know that that skill measures up against the Australian standards. So you will need to get a piece of paper that says you have a positive skill assessment. And the last threshold requirement is English language. You need to have competent English skills to be able to find employment and interact in the Australian society, which has only one official language, which is English. If you have a look at that slide and you can't recognize that there are 4 spelling mistakes there, then obviously you need to spend a little bit more time on your English language requirement. 2 things that happen towards the end of the process, once everything has been lodged and you have a case officer appointed, the case officer will approve in principle your visa application, apart from asking you to do things, get a police check and a medical check. When it comes to the medical check, they're looking at several things that could stop you from getting to Australia. First of all, contagious disease. If you have tuberculosis or AIDS or something else that could damage the health of Australians, there's a strong chance that you could be refused a visa. Secondly, they would look at the cost or the risk to Australia. If any one member of the application has a condition that's going to cost Australia more than $35,000 in the first 5 years in Australia, then there's also a chance that you could be refused. And the third criteria is a scarce resource. If you are going to deny an Australian citizen or permanent resident the access to a scarce resource, like, for instance, a dialysis machine or a bed in an institution, then there's a strong chance that your visa will be refused. The next one is if you've run from the law and the law's got hold of you and you've been to court and you've been sentenced, then Australia want to know what is the extent of your misdemeanors. They're not interested in small or minor offences, but if you have custodial sentences totaling more than 12 months, the case officer is no longer able to make a decision and has to go to the character unit in Brisbane for a decision. So they're looking at people of good character to come to Australia, and if there's something really serious in your background, then you will be refused. What Australia do have, though, is a thing called natural justice and procedural fairness. And before they can summarily dismiss an application based on health or character grounds, they have to give you a chance to refute that. So we have an example of somebody who spent 3 years in jail at the age of 18. And 10 years later, he applied for a visa and he'd lived an exemplary lifestyle. He was married with 3 children and was able to prove that he had lived a really good life over the 10 years. We prepared an application for him which was sent to the character unit, and the character unit in Brisbane made a unilateral decision that he was fine and he could go. So by taking professional assistance from somebody like myself who's a registered migration agent, you can maximize your points to get the best ranking. You can have a speedy lodgement of your queuing position. That makes sure that you've investigated all the visa options. We will make sure that we've left no stone unturned in checking your visa options, and also make sure that your documentation is presented in the best possible way to enhance your application and reduce the risk of refusal. We will handle queries professionally to ensure a smooth route to the visa grant, and we look after your application all the way right through until you've been granted the visa. Remember that an incorrect or a false expression of interest input, if you've claimed something in expression of interest that looks to them to be spurious or dishonest, they could bar you from lodging another expression of interest for 3 years. Why should you use a registered migration agent? There are something like 4,500 registered migration agents in the world. Only 500 exist outside of Australia. The penalty for giving advice in Australia without being registered is a maximum fine of $100,000 or 10 years imprisonment. So nobody in their right mind will give advice in Australia unless they're registered. Unfortunately, Australia doesn't have the legal power, they don't have the jurisdiction to police people outside of Australia that are giving advice. And so therefore there are quite a number of people that are giving dodgy advice throughout the world and taking money in false pretenses from unsuspecting migrants. Make sure that the person you're talking to is a registered migration agent, and remember that a company cannot be registered, only a person can be registered. So you'll receive advice from a qualified and registered professional. Ensure your application has got the best chance of success. Eliminate the risk of expensive mistakes that could cause delays or failure. Simplify the process and remove the stress involved. You also need to protect your rights as a consumer because RMAs are governed by a very strict code of conduct. Immigration2Oz is a registered migration agency. We've got 2 registered migration agents on board. We're based in Surrey. We're always contactable by phone, by email, or in person. I personally immigrated to Australia in the early 90s, and therefore I understand the emotion of immigrating. It's not so much about just selling a fridge or buying a motor car. There's a huge amount of understanding of what the person's needs are as far as immigration is concerned. Your case is supervised by registered migration throughout the process. We care about you. We care about your outcomes. You're not just a number in our business. You're a person. Our team comprises senior legal associates and a former Department of Immigration official. We think outside the box and we examine all available paths. I want to thank you so much for listening, and thanks Train for Gap for this facility and ability to present this webinar tonight. Thank you very much.